Hey gamers, welcome to a different kind of video. I'm going to review the movie Look Back. All I knew getting into this movie was that it was a manga that was made by Fujimoto, and that's it. And since then, I've seen a lot of people suggest that people should check this movie out, all that kind of stuff on Twitter. So I watched it last night, and I'm gonna try to talk about this movie and not get super like emotional about it. It's been very hard for me to remember a time where I watched a movie that affected me like this. Like, there's been stuff that I've seen that, got a reaction out of me and got me to like feel stuff and feel sad or whatever. I've seen movies that done that to me, but this is the one movie where after watching it, like right now, this is like, a whole day has passed since I've seen this movie, and I could just casually think about this movie and I'll just be like wrecked by it, I guess. So I'm just gonna try to not get super emotional when I talk about this movie because a lot of the stuff that this movie deals with, a lot of it does. I do have like it does strike a chord with me, to a certain extent. And a lot of stuff about it is just so relatable, and it's such a motivating movie. On top of that, like the animation was beautiful. It was really a gorgeous movie. Like this is kind of like the movie I want to see more of, like animation wise at least. Like it's so well animated, and it encapsulates like the relationships between the two characters. I'm gonna butcher her names, like Kiyomoto, I think, and Fujino. Uh, they have a very sweet relationship that builds up over time. Uh, and it was just an emotional roller coaster. Just seeing their relationship throughout the movie, but also just what they're working towards, and all that. Like a lot of this stuff is stuff that I just kind of like, man, I just think about it now. Like a lot of the times you see that this one character like starts off with her making this one like 4 panel comic for the school newspaper, and it's, everyone loves it. They're saying, "Oh, your art is so good," and this and that. They keep praising this person for their art, but they eventually tell her, "Well, are you gonna grow out of doing art? Like you're keep doing this, and you're gonna creep people out. Like why are you still doing this?" And they keep, kind of telling her that. Then the school tells her, "Well, hey, we have this other student that is a that doesn't come to school, but she like is homeschooled, whatever. But she wants to participate in the school paper. So can we give her a slot like next to yours?" And she was like, "Okay, sure, you could do that." And the next day, the two comics, and it devastates her how good it was. At first, she's like, "Oh, she's an amateur. What's she gonna do? I mean, she stays home. How good of her panel is gonna be? Really, whatever. Sure, I'll be kind. Whatever." And then like everyone was like, "Oh, so you're not so special after all. You're just things are normal." Like they say everything so casually, like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're whatever. This is pretty good. I guess whatever." And she starts to feel more and more like inadequate, I guess. Like she gets a rivalry almost through it, and then you see this montage of her just trying to improve, drawing more, getting more books to look at anatomy, trying, and like you see her search how to draw good fast or whatever, and it's just like, man, I feel that so hard a lot of the times. I'm on Twitter, I see all these people posting their art, and I'm just like, oh fuck, I want to draw as good as that, and it just kills me sometimes when I don't feel like I'm really getting to where I want to be with it, whatever. So all this stuff is very like I know exactly how she's feeling with this kind of stuff. So that aspect of it was great to see her just kind of like trying to push herself to like keep up. Uh, and then it got to the point where she just ultimately gave up and she's like, "Oh, I'll just stop doing it. I'm just gonna do whatever." And she starts hanging out with her friends more. She does judo, whatever, or karate, and all this other stuff. And then she's told like, "Okay, look, you're graduating. Can you like give her the student who stays at home like her graduation certificate? Like, do this as a favor, or whatever." She does it, and she sees all these like sketchbooks that's in the hallway, and it's just dawning on her just how much, like, she realizes that, oh, she's so good because she stays at home to draw all day. Like, I have to go to school and she's staying at home doing all this. Like, and then it gets to the point where she's like enamored by her by saying, and this to me was another part that really like stuck in my head a lot was uh Fujino was told by everyone, like, oh, your art's so good and this and that. And eventually she starts to feeling, okay, they're just saying this. These are just like compliments, whatever. And she's, those didn't really like stick out to her. She was willing to just stop drawing just because she saw someone else that was better than her drawing, and she didn't think that people around her cared, so she just stopped doing it. But this Kiyomoto tells her, I'm your biggest fan. You're a genius, and all this stuff, and that got her to go back to drawing. That got her to make more, and then to also work with her. And I'm just sitting there like, out of all these people, this one person saying that they're her fan and she's a genius and all this stuff, genuine like uh appreciation, and that stuck with her to have her go back and work on it more. And then they go out and do a manga career. Almost, they get serialized, they get all this other stuff going on. And I was just like, man, like that just stuck with me. Like, I was going to the gym today, I was on the way back, and I was just thinking about that. I was like, like, it really shows, like, her opinion meant so much to her for to like go back and all this other stuff. Like, it really shows just, no matter your skill with art or what you're putting out, you may find someone that really like loves your work or might be a fan of it or whatever, and to stick with it and to keep trying and keep learning and all this other stuff. So that really stuck out with me throughout the whole movie for the most part. Now that I'm thinking about this, the other part was Kiyomoto was a shut-in the whole for most of her life, and then Fujino was came into her life and like got her to interact with the world more, got her to leave her house sometimes and all this other stuff, and to get serialized, to do all these business meetings and all this other stuff. And eventually she starts to feel like, I want to go to an art university. I want to try living on my own. And I was like, man, like it becomes a little bit multi-layered in this. And it's gonna sound like very, very fucking corny or snobby, but it's like, you have like, you think in the beginning, okay, this is gonna be just about them making manga. Oh, this is gonna be them like doing this, but it's also just like the relationship between, not just between them, but their relationship with art as well. It shows them like they were able to make a friendship through that. Kiyomoto was able to leave the house because of art. Her wanting to uh go to the university to expand her art even more is all because of that. And I also really appreciate it, and this didn't hit me until I was watching the director interview they had at the end of the movie, that it didn't hit me when I was watching it, but she was the background artist in the duo. Like, she was doing the backgrounds and all this other stuff, I just realized at that point, it's like, she was a shut in the whole time. She was in her house, and she was drawing great backgrounds. And I'm just sitting there like, that is a great contrast. That the shut in would be great at drawing backgrounds, and then the person who's like more so just great at drawing people. Like, it's such a brilliant uh parallel with them, and that really like was, to me, is very poignant. When I saw that, I was like, holy shit, that's like really good. uh I really love this movie. There was all to get further into it, it has a lot of like, there's like a tragedy that happens that was done so beautifully. How they expressed it, how the main character gets told the news. It was just so beautiful, and to see like how that affected her. She feels like it was her fault that happened. It was it was such a fucked up part too. Like, it the whole movie was hard to sit through in that way. Again, like, when I was watching in the theater, I was kind of like, I was sad obviously during these scenes, but it was just like, I wasn't like, bawling. I wasn't like, oh, this, that, but it was just really after that. Like every time, like I was on the way home, when I was going to sleep, when I woke up, I was just like, it's like a worm in my brain that's just like, oh yeah, I remember this and this and that. And like it's, but I think the best part that I really loved about this movie was that it did motivate me to get back into art more than I was before, and it got me to like really dive into like I've been working on this stupid fucking comic for like months. I had the idea for years that was kind of underdeveloped and this and that. So I'm just trying to work on it now to get it just to get something out. And this movie pushed me even more to just do it because of just seeing that, hey, this person just felt this way about her art at one point, and then she found her friend through that, and then she just started getting more ambitious with her work, and seeing the amount of dedication she had as well was also inspiring to see. Oh, she has all these sketchbooks of all these anatomy studies, all this stuff, like, and that to me was just like, I want to do more. I want to draw more now, and I've never seen a movie just get me worked up like that. So I really loved it. I love seeing the stuff on Twitter where it says like, "Why do you draw?" and this and like, because they ask like Fujin like, "Why do you draw?" and it's just like, these are very like good questions to ask, and these are very good things to think about once you're like once you're like leaving the theater. Like, I think that's why like the more I was thinking about this movie as I left was just the more I just wanted to kind of do it myself as well. Like it was a very well done movie. I really think this is one of my favorite movies of the year. It's a very short run time. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. And I don't think it needed to be any longer. I think it was the right size. In the director interview, they said like there's a scene where the in the manga there's like a 2-page spread of the character skipping, and here they're like, oh, we wanted the animators to ad lib that scene. Like, we're gonna animate her skipping, but just do whatever. And they add all these like little moments, and that's kind of like what I was thinking about when I came to the realization that Kiyomoto's praise really stuck with her the most out of everyone. Was like, she tells her like, I'm your biggest fan, you're a genius, and she's going home skipping, like she's like throwing the rock, and she's just like very excited. I was like, she's been told this by multiple people, like, oh, your art's so good, this and that. But she didn't like skip home. She was like, oh yeah, like, yeah, I'm pretty good. But this person, who she thinks like is a better artist than her, tells her, I'm your biggest fan, you're a genius. And she's just so, and that ignited her to be so excited and to go back into doing art. Like, so them to ad lib that scene, I think, was a brilliant choice. And I think for them to make a story that's like a couple of minutes long, because it's only like, it's a one shot, to make it an hour long film that doesn't feel like it drags, or there's filler or anything, is incredible. There's one line though, I will bring this up as a small thing. uh when they got the money from the contest, Fujino says in the manga, like, oh, let's spend it on this and stimulate the economy, which is on brand for Fujimoto. Fujimoto has that kind of like comedy in a lot of his work. Like Chainsaw Man, there's a scene where Denji's like singing about unions in the bathtub. So it's on brand for him to kind of have dialogue like that, and it does work in the manga all the same. But the change he did in the movie, I think, is better in the sense that it builds their relationship more. It focuses more on their relationship a lot more as kids, or people, people growing up. They wanted to spend on whipped cream and all this other stuff, all this like frivolous thing that a kid would think of. And I was like, this makes a little bit more like, they both work because anyone could have that kind of comedy, like, let's stimulate the economy and this and that. But I think it was more, it worked better in the movie the way that they changed it. It's really one of those changes where I don't think it's an offensive change where it's like, oh, they ruined the meaning of this. I think it contributed to, like, better with their relationship in the movie. But both work equally. I just think that the other one felt more warm, I guess, than saying that, because it's one thing to read it. When you're reading dialogue, it's one thing, but if you're actually listening to the dialogue, that's another thing entirely. So I don't know how well stimulated the economy would have panned out, especially for a movie that I think is a because the movie had a very warm tone to it. It wasn't like a harsh comedy or a brutal drama or anything like that. It was a very warm movie that felt very personable. So I think that's another angle that makes this movie very relatable, and it just stands on its own very well. I think if you like movies or like Fujimoto's work or anything, I think this movie is great for that. But if you have worked on art, if you've done any drawings or whatever, this movie is brilliant. I've never seen a movie that just gave me a shot in the arm to like go and draw more and more and more and to focus on it, because this movie was truly an inspirational movie by the end. Like even through the drama, the way that it ends kind of where it begins, where she's just at her desk just drawing. It's just like it's a very good movie, and I don't think it'll get any of the acclaim it deserves, unfortunately. But this movie is a very good movie. Easily one of my favorite movies of this year. And this is another rare instance where I watched it in theaters and I already want to watch it again. I want to go and watch it again. Like if I could buy it, I would right now. Just to watch it, because it was that good of a movie. I just want to watch it and just re-experience it, look at more stuff. I just loved a lot of the aspects of how they were drawing manga and all this other stuff. The other thing I liked about the movie was they did throw in some Chainsaw Man references, because they knew for sure that people who were going to watch the movie could be mostly Chainsaw Man fans. So a lot of the manga of Shark Kick, I think it was called Shark Kick, it was just all like Chainsaw Man covers. So that was a clever like reference. And I think Chainsaw Man also references Shark Kick, so it's another like reference that kind of like goes hand in hand. But it was a fantastic movie. I went in like I also saw a lot of people say, "Oh, this is a very emotional movie. Oh, I'm gonna see how hard I can cry, whatever." And you know, again, I'm not like a super emotional guy. I get emotional about certain things here and there, but I've never had a movie where I watch that and leave the theater and just like a day later, I'm like thinking about, I'm like, oh, and this is that one rare movie. So I highly recommend this movie. I think it just got out of theater circulation, unfortunately. I saw one tweet where they said they might extend it. They might do more dates. Uh, so I guess keep an eye on for that, or just wait for it's on once it gets added to streaming or Blu-ray, whatever. I highly recommend this movie. I wish I saw this movie earlier so I could watch it again and again and again. Almost, it's a brilliant movie. I can't even give it a score because it just, I feel that would just kind of just be a disservice to how brilliant the movie is. So I really liked it. I highly recommend it. Uh, no matter where you're coming from, if you're an artist, if you're not, I think this movie is great for what it is. It's just a brilliant movie. Uh, and again, the more I'm thinking about it, the more like emotional, but also I'm getting more motivated to do art. Like it's a very complicated feeling, I guess, where it's like I feel sad, but I also feel more gung ho to do more art as well. So I would recommend it a lot to anyone. It's a great movie. It's just fantastic. I wish it played more. Hopefully they will get more dates. Otherwise, I hope it gets added soon. I just want to watch it again. So that's it for this review. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the movie just as much as I did. See you in the next one. Bye bye.